something with...
Sorry?
Yes, about the
presentation.
Hear. Yes, about the presentation. So if there is something, yeah, let's then see that I can share and you can see it. But yeah, it was about the practices.
Okay.
Would it be okay for me, Sina, still to test the presentation? Or
Yes, yes.
Yes. So if I share, so it will stop your sharing. Is it okay?
Yeah, that's
okay. I'll just try to find that. So can you now see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay, and I can put it then on presentation mode. Good.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this webinar on the application of digitalization in teaching. I am Sina Moradi, CIB Program Manager and Postdoctoral Researcher of Construction Management at Tampere University in Finland. Today, it's a great pleasure to have Kirsi Aaltonen and Taija Puolitaival as our keynote speakers. Without further ado, let's proceed with the first presentation by Associate Professor Kirsi Aaltonen from University of Oulu. Kirsi, please.
Yes, okay, thank you very much, Sina. So I'll share my presentation and then start. So okay, I hope that you can see it.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so good morning on my behalf as well. Really nice to be here to give you this talk on the role of AI and particularly the role of educational chatbots and their role as facilitating learning. My name is Kirsi Aaltonen. I work as an associate professor of project management and complex systems in University of Oulu, and I started working at University of Oulu already in 2014. So it's been 10 years I've been working there. I also act as an adjunct professor of project business at Aalto University and also lead our project business research at University of Oulu, and I'm working at the Faculty of Technology, so the Department of Industrial Engineering and Management. So much of my research at the moment focuses on stakeholder engagement in complex projects. So I'm partly identifying myself as a project scholar. Of course, there's a lot of research and publications in project management journals, also on construction management. So and I also publish in construction management journals, but also as my identity, I view myself as a project management scholar. I've been doing also research on collaborative project delivery models in infrastructure and construction projects, and particularly looked at the institutionalization processes of collaborative project delivery models in Finland. I teach both at undergraduate and postgraduate levels diverse project management courses, also change project and change program management at the moment. Just a minute with the slides. I have some problems here. Yes, a bit about University of Oulu. It's up north there, around 600 kilometers from Helsinki up north. So we have over 13,000 students at the moment. So it's a multidisciplinary research university and education university. But now to my agenda today. So I was really happy when Sina asked me to tell you more about the digitalization of education. I particularly wanted to talk about the use of these generative AI tools and how they can actually facilitate teaching and learning in the current educational landscape. But before I move to some of the applications that we have been using in our teaching, I first wanted to tell a bit about the digitalization of our project management education in general. So I would say that the digitalization of our courses at the University of Oulu started already maybe in 2014, and of course COVID accelerated the digitalization efforts, but already before that we were looking and analyzing that how could we improve our project management course design, and how could new and novel digital tools facilitate our teaching and the learning processes of students. And in general, I think that these themes also fit very well with these generative AI tools that can be used for facilitating learning processes. But how do I see the role of digital tools and technological solutions in facilitating learning? So in general, they are really good means for making the teaching and learning more flexible. They also allow this kind of adaptive learning processes. Then in general, we see that these new tools, if used properly, they improve student motivation and engagement. And these were the kind of the questions that we were asking ourselves when we started the digitalization of our teaching. They also offer continuous support for learning, and also can offer improved interaction and collaborative learning processes in our classes. And then already before 2020, we were asking these questions that how can we, for example, ensure the continuous support for our students in our project management courses, for example. And at that time in 2020, we turned into the educational chatbot as one of the solutions, and then to educational games. And we started different research processes and activities related to these educational games and the development of educational chatbots. And the idea was then to offer a more flexible way of learning for our students, and offer more interactive ways for them to then really apply the theory in practice, for example, through the use of educational games. So the first pilots with the educational chatbots in our project management courses, they started already in 2020, before the introduction of, for example, these new generative AI tools such as ChatGPT. So then already in 2020, we were utilizing IBM's Watson technology and offered our students an educational chatbot with which they could kind of train this basic skills in project management. And the chatbot was also providing the students with kind of course information support. So they could, for example, ask from the chatbot that when do we have the exam of this course, for example. In addition to that, they could ask about, for example, different project management processes or train and kind of make assignments with this chatbot. Okay, let's now move to the next slide. I have some problems with this going to the next, yes. So the use of AI solutions in project management learning. So before I go to this specific application of the educational chatbot that we have been developing and using in our teaching, I just wanted to share my perspective on the use of these generative AI tools in higher education. So obviously the landscape changed a lot after the introduction of ChatGPT by OpenAI in November 2022. And a lot has happened related to these generative AI tools after that. There's a lot of discussion on the risks of these generative AI tools in education and learning processes, but then on the other hand, there are these positive perspectives on the opportunities that these new tools can offer us. And my stance is that we as educators, we need to experiment and try out these new tools in our teaching. This is the only way for us to learn and understand that how can we use these new tools effectively in our teaching, and then on the other hand understand that how are our students using them in their learning processes. And there's a lot of need for research on this area so that we understand better that how can, for example, different types of generative AI tools be integrated into our teaching in an effective manner that then also facilitates learning and student engagement. So I think that it's our responsibility to try out and test and then learn by actually then introducing these different tools in our classes. I also see that these different tools that are now emerging are an opportunity for us that also free resources for then deeper interaction in our classes. So for example, in flipped classroom type of setup, we can then already beforehand, for example, utilize educational chatbots so that students somehow do some assignments or study themselves with the educational chatbots, and then we have more time in the classes to deepen the knowledge and have discussions on diverse themes. I also already now see that different kinds of AI solutions offer totally new possibilities for our teaching activities and assignments. So one example are the case studies and case-based teaching. So traditionally, we have had, at least in our unit in industry energy and management, we have used a lot of cases in our teaching. So they've been these kinds of a bit, I would say, not so interactive texts that students have read about certain like business problems with different kinds of characterizations, and then they have the text and then some kind of questions and they solve problems. But now these AI tools can really make those cases also alive. So with AI enhanced features, we can, for example, have cases with different characters with which the students can interact. They can try to, for example, interview the different case representatives and try to themselves understand the situation in the cases, and through that kind of processes then build knowledge. So I see a lot of possibilities here. And finally, I think that we have the responsibility as educators to teach our students the skills that they can use these new technologies responsibly also then in their work. So how have I used AI tools and AI solutions and generative AI solutions in teaching so far? And how have we been using them in our project management courses? So first of all, this educational chatbot, to which I go soon, we have used them as in a kind of a coach role that the students have themselves kind of used the educational chatbot, which is focusing on different project management processes, and they have, for example, then trained with it earned value management in project management, for example. Then we've also given the students different kinds of tasks where they need to use AI tools, typically ChatGPT or GPT-4, and they have, for example, co-developed their essays with this and then analyzed and critically reflect on the outcomes. So that has been one task in our courses. Then we've also used GPT-4 as one peer reviewer, so that one of the peer reviewers receives GPT for the students' essays, in addition to the other students that are reviewing each other's work. And then the students have also commented on this review. Then in one of our capstone courses, the students are now developing their own AI solutions or applications to facilitate some kind of selected project management problem in company. So they are using then here GPT-4 and building their own applications. For example, one student group is now developing a kind of application that facilitates the knowledge sharing of the company's projects. And then we have also built teaching cases so that they have these AI-driven case characters. So for example, in our project or change project course, the students have been facing a kind of a change project situation in an imaginary company where they then need to interact with the different representatives of this company. So they are with this tool, they are then interviewing the different stakeholders of the change case situation, and then they need to analyze the situation, and based on the information that they get from the stakeholders, they then are developing their change management strategy. And then personally, I've also for some courses used the tools for the generation of for example, quizzes. But then let's now go further to the development of educational chatbots for our project management learning. So for this, we have had a ChatLearn project, which has been an Erasmus Plus funded cooperation partnership project that is ending now in July. And there we've had 4 university partners, you can see them here, that are also engaged in project management teaching. And if you notice the start of the project, as said, it was already before the introduction of ChatGPT. So obviously the introduction of the new technology or application changed a bit our project focus, but it's the kind of the educational chatbot is mainly built on IBM's Watson technology and on the platform, but it's also the ChatGPT-4 is also integrated to the educational chatbot. And the objective here was to enable a more personalized project management learning experience for our higher education students. And in the project, we have been developing this actual chatbot, but then also guidelines and for the use of educational chatbots, and also then piloted this chatbot with our students in different courses. So as I mentioned here, that chatbots are a mean to enable a personalized learning processes. So they are really then the chatbot that we are using, an overall educational chatbot. So they are good in personalizing education because they can then adapt the content of the dialogue based on the progress and the actions that the students are taking on their learning path. Then we can also identify different kinds of user profiles based on which the chatbot adapts the content or the questions or the assignments that it's offering for the students. And of course, then with this kind of tool, we can provide also customized feedback, and we can even then tailor the agent's appearance. So the PM Tutor chatbot that we have been developing in this project has 9 essential project management topics, and then we also have incorporated case studies into the chatbot. And then the students can use it so that they select a certain project management knowledge area, for example, risk management, that they enter, and then they can start discussing with the chatbot, learn more about this topic area. So there are different kinds of materials that are in the material bank that are then offered for the students, and then the chatbot also presents questions for the students and then adapts the questions and assignments based on how the student is progressing and with the answers. So that's the kind of the basic idea. So this is a tool that we have been piloting with our students in the different partner universities, and of course is also something that we are now then developing in forward after the project as well. And the experiences from our students when they have been using this educational chatbot have been quite encouraging. So most of the students and the setup has been so that they have been using this educational chatbot as an independent coach, and many of them have reported that the use of this kind of coach has increased their interest and motivation for the study themes, and so that their overall assessment on the overall learning has been very positive, and they've also felt that it has been a kind of a memorable learning experience to use this kind of educational chatbot. And also the teachers have thought that it has been easy to use and take into or integrate into their educational offering as a kind of a complementary element. So this is a tool with which the students can then outside the class train some of the specific project management skills, such as, for example, earned value management as a topic or theme that, at least based on my experience, has been a bit challenging for our basic project management course students. So this has been a tool with which they have been able to then train the topic a bit more. But as said, we are now developing this solution forward in addition to the other tools and applications that these generative AI technologies are offering for us. So this was a kind of a short presentation into the really interesting topic of generative AI and how the different tools and applications can support the teaching and learning processes in our courses. And I'm really kind of inspired that I can work at the university at this time when these new technologies are entering and then offering us new possibilities and ways for teaching and learning.
Thank you very much, dear Kirsi, for your insightful presentation. Let's proceed with the second presentation by Taija, and we will take the questions at the end, which we will have a QA session. Taija, please.
Thank you, Sina. I deliberately took a different direction because I knew that I wouldn't have anything so cool to present as Kirsi has about the AI chatbots. And of course, because of my background and what I have focused in research. So I'm talking about competencies in digital construction technologies. So taking a little bit of a step back to more general kind of, but then to more specific when it comes to digital technologies, so talking about construction specific ones. Now let's see that I get the slide set working. Just a short bio about myself. At the moment, I'm head of programs at the Faculty of Built Environment, Tampere University, Finland. Tampere University is also a multidisciplinary university, similarly as Oulu University is. So we have a wide range of disciplines there. I teach a lot in undergraduate courses and also in postgraduate courses. So not just the manager, but also a teacher. And I really consider myself more as an educator than a researcher or any sort of a manager as such. I worked a long time in New Zealand as well as a senior lecturer there. And my background when it comes to digital technologies probably comes from there. So it started with BIM, as it usually starts when it comes to construction specific digital technologies. And my research focus has been on the applicational side of things, but more and more on the digital construction technologies. So the competencies and also the competence development related to that one. Now, a little bit about the concepts first, because I have noticed multiple times that we are not necessarily talking about the same things when we talk about competence or when we talk about digital technologies. So there are many other words that we can use for competence or which are similar to that one. But when I'm talking about competence, I have adopted the definition by Winterton et al. That competence is something quite holistic. So it includes the cognitive competencies, so the knowledge and understanding, the functional competence, which is skills, also the social competencies, so how we behave and what our attitudes are. And there as the last one is the meta competence, which is kind of facilitating the learning process of the individuals. And this is very much linked with the continuous professional learning. Then about digital technologies, when I started studying the topic more, I actually noticed back in 2019 that there wasn't really any definition as such for digital technologies. There was a lot of definitions for IT technologies and ITC technologies and such. Digital was defined, but not together as such. So I developed this definition for my own research purposes, which has worked well for now. When we have this definition here, it all sounds very, very kind of simple. But then when we start thinking about the construction-specific digital technologies or digital technologies overall, we actually notice that it's quite complex when it comes to things overlapping and having things inside each other. So as an example, we have digital twins here, and inside that one we might have BIM and intelligent systems and some other digital technologies. And then inside BIM, we have many digital technologies, digital imaging, generative design, many other. And again, when we dig deeper into those ones, for example, into the digital imaging, inside that one, we have some hardware, and the hardware has inside, again, some software applications. And then we have some software applications that we run the images when we have actually captured them. So there is a lot of this layered logic there, kind of that how things go when it comes to digital technologies. But overall, this is what I mean by definition. Now, when we combine the two then, with digital technologies and competencies, we of course have the everyday digital technologies. That of course means different things to us. So in the Western world, it usually means at least mobile phones and usually some sort of laptops as well. But of course, we need to remember that there are many people in the world without any digital technologies. When we go then further there, we start to have these subject-specific digital technologies, and the ones that Kirsi was talking about, they are specific, or the example was specific for teaching purposes. But we also might have them for each discipline. So in this case, what I'm talking about for construction. Then on the competency side, we have these general competencies when we talk about digital literacy, which is kind of the ability to navigate in the digital world, to use at least a computer, be able to turn it on, open a web browser, and then use any of the digital services that we nowadays have plenty in our society. And that includes, of course, all sorts of ethical things to consider, and also things when it comes to a critical review of content there. When we start going to more specific, we can talk about digital technology competencies. So that would be more specific to certain digital devices or applications, how they actually work. And then we have the subject or the discipline-specific digital technology competencies. For as an example, in construction, we have BIM as one of the big concepts. We have different software like Microsoft Project might be one and so on. So this is the world what I'm talking about. Now, back in the New Zealand, I conducted this study with my colleague, Dr. Lydia Kirov. And the reason for this study was that we got kind of curious that whether these digital natives actually exist, and if they do exist, what does it actually mean, especially for our teaching. So we started investigating the topic, and we had two cohorts, one on the first year of the Bachelor of Construction and another one on the third year of the Bachelor of Construction. And for the first year students, we used only freeware mobile applications, which was more appropriate for their studies as well, because they were not, of course, that fully knowledgeable about all things in construction. So we started from there, and then with the third year students, so this was not the same cohort moving to third year, but two different ones. So in the third year, we used fully professional construction specific digital applications, and these were all BIM related at the time. And we wanted to know how the students interacted with those ones. And if there were any digital natives or so. I have to mention about the cohorts that there was a relatively wide age bracket there, or at least compared to what our students in Finland are usually. So the age bracket was between 18 to 35. The average undergraduate student age in New Zealand is about 26, 27. So that was about there for both of the cohorts. We had some international students, and we of course had a lot of domestic students as well, and there were not many differences between those demographics, so not much a report about that one. Now, when we completed the study or analyzed the results, we did notice the learning preferences, that there was a bit of a difference between those ones who were closer to being 20 than those ones being closer to 30 or over. The learning preferences for those ones who were closer to 30 or over, they preferred us to kind of give them step-by-step guidance or kind of tutorials in class how to use the digital technologies. When the younger ones, they were more intuitive in using at least the mobile applications. So they just went and ran with it. So they really didn't need many tutorials or anything at all. But when it came to the desktop applications, we couldn't really say that whether it was the generation or whether it was more about work experience that made the difference between the ones who were in their early 20s than those ones who were in their early 30s. That the younger ones, they had great difficulties in starting to use the full professional desktop applications. And it was not just about the fact that those applications are quite demanding, because from the 30-year-old ones or so, hardly any one of them had any experience in using those applications. So they had not used that sort of applications, but the older ones, they were more used to using desktop applications. So their navigations within that desktop application was more intuitive for them than for the younger ones. So this was quite interesting find, but we couldn't really say that, but of course the two things are linked to each other, that or usually linked to each other, that how much work experience you have and how old you are. But we noticed there a big difference there. And we started thinking about our pedagogy and didactics, that we actually need to go exactly the way that Kirsi was just showing us, that we need to have more individual guidance, but because we are teaching large classes, we need to do it in a clever way, so that we can kind of one way or the other make the instructions more applicable for that specific person who is looking at those ones. Another thing there, what we noticed was what we were not necessarily actually even looking, was that there was this natural inclination and these skills for connectivity. The younger the people were in the study, or the students were in the study. And we started thinking about our assessment methods, that many times we put a lot of emphasis on the testing of the individual learning and testing individually how the students actually work. We probably need to think about our assessment a little bit differently, so that we can actually utilize this kind of natural skill that the students have to work together and collaborate. With that thinking, of course, came to thinking that as educators, as the faculty, we are usually not the same generation as the ones who we are teaching, if we are talking about the digital generations. And there are many things other than just the use of the digital technology itself that makes us different. And there is probably a lot there to investigate more. Then to another one, which was also Erasmus Plus project, Benedict project. And this one was at Tampere University, and we just finalized the project, or finished it last year. In this one, we created so-called BIM-enabled learning environments. And I'm not gonna, because there's just a short bit of time, I'm not gonna talk too much about the project and how it was all implemented. But the design management pilot model was the responsibility of Tampere University. And in that one, with my colleague Toni Teittinen, we threw the students directly to the deep end, so to speak. Sina was brave enough to offer his students for the experiment. So in one of Sina's courses, construction management, which is part of the sustainable urban development bachelor's degree, we had a cohort of students taking part on this one. And in that program, in the sustainable urban development, the students don't have a deep understanding of construction as such, because they are studying multidisciplinary topics. And from the construction side, what they are mainly focusing on is on urban planning kind of things. And in this one, we went to building construction and BIM in that one. So the students didn't have much idea about the content, but we gave them a BIM model. a relatively simple BIM model. And they run themselves design management meetings using that BIM model and 2 different versions of that BIM model to kind of simulate where the actual design of the project was. So they were not doing the design job. We gave them the design. Surprisingly, or somewhat surprisingly, because we know how visually powerful BIM models are, the students did not really have any issues working with the models. So they're actually really comfortable digging into the model. We didn't use, for the purposes of the project, because we wanted things to be open, we didn't use any commercial software or such that would cost anything. We used only open source things. So the interface where they were playing with the model was relatively simple, but it still had some tools where you could actually investigate the model more in depth and take quantities and so on. And the students were okay with that one. So from that experience, what I would say that, and we come to the next slide. So kind of to my conclusions, I have adapted these first 3 points from Underwood et al. And Olova et al., which was the latter one being part of our Erasmus Plus project research, that there are kind of these 3 ways of having BIM in the education. So this comes from Underwood. Some consider them also as steps, so that's more the take that Olova et al. has here. So first we have the BIM-aware education, ensuring that the graduates are aware of BIM. And then we have the BIM-focused education. We are actually focusing on BIM and BIM-specific tasks. And then the third one is the BIM-enabled education, where we actually use BIM as a vehicle for education and not as a content as such. So we take it as a more natural part of what we are actually doing. Now, when some consider these as steps, I would say that these are not necessarily steps as such, although we need to start from the first one. But I would say that it would be good if we would have all of these ones embedded in our education. So not just necessarily jump to the third one directly. Now, my thinking now then from this one and from the experiences that I have had with my students and in my research is that we could actually apply this thinking wider into the digital construction technologies. So if we switch the BIM there to digital technology or to digital construction technology, I think this works similarly in there. So we need to have all these components there, that we have that aware education, that our students are aware of construction technologies. And because we can never teach them all, or we can never embed them all, the students need to be able to be aware of them. And then we have the focused education, where we might have something more specific, so digital technology specific things that we are teaching. And then we have the digital technology enabled education, whether it's enabled by digital teaching applications or digital construction applications. They would be all included in this third point. But yeah, my references there at the end, what I have used, but thank you.
Thank you very much, Taija, for your interesting presentation. In addition to what you already explained, I have personally observed that this Benedict and this BIM-enabled environment help students to get a better and clearer understanding of what collaboration actually means in reality, and what kind of challenges they face in construction projects as an example, for example, in the design management meetings or later on, and this relationships between different parties. So it was quite an effective, I would say, tool for teaching them and helping them actually to understand that what is the reality of the project. Thank you again to Kirsi and Taija for your wonderful presentations. Now we will be taking the questions from our participants. So please feel free to ask if you have any question.
If I may ask from Kirsi.
Taija, sorry, there is one question, but after that you can go ask. Yes.
Good morning. It's Rishani. I just have a question for Kirsi. I just want to know, behind the scenes, was there a lot of IT involved? Did you as an academic have to learn that, or did you get your IT department involved with creating the chatbots? How did that work? Thank you.
Oh, thank you for the question. Yes, we didn't have our IT department directly in the pilots involved. We were like telling about them what we are now piloting. So it was kind of an autonomous effort from Industrial Engineering Management Unit, but we actually had students with software engineering background that were part of the project and then supporting the development of our educational chatbot tool, and then also from IBM as we were using their and are using their Watson technology. So we've had some kind of like consultancy from their side, but it has been rather limited. So we haven't used that much their services, but actually the knowledge has then come from our students who have been part of the project. And then also one of our professors, my colleague in project management, Professor Jaakko Kuila, so he has also a software background kind of as his primary education. So that was kind of also supporting the technological development side in the project. But then related to now, I was just outside the kind of this PM tutor that we have been developing. So for example, in our capstone course, we are now utilizing or offering the students the Open AIs Plus license so that they can be using the playground and so on. So that has been carried out in our courses, so that basically the students have been educating themselves in a way that they have learned how to use these tools themselves.
Thank you, Kirsi. Yes, Taija, you may now ask your question from Kirsi.
I have multiple questions because this was really interesting. I'm just trying to pick now one. You mentioned about the AI solution development that the students did themselves in companies or for companies. I'm not.
Yeah, in companies. Yeah, so they have searched.
So what does that require from the students in terms of understanding the technology?
Yes. So as mentioned, yes, they have been, it's part of our capstone course, which is the kind of the final course in our project management program. So the student groups were finding the companies themselves. So they were first of all looking at companies who would like to pilot or learn more about the potential and the use of AI tools in their project management processes. So all the student groups were able to find a company and then find some kind of problem over there. So because now, of course, companies are rather interested in understanding how they can use these new tools in facilitating and improving the productivity of their project management processes. But then related to the technology side, so as mentioned, the students themselves have actually the groups learned how to use these technologies, and then we have had altogether 2 sessions from our doctoral student who has a software engineering background to tell a bit more about the kind of the development of these applications. And then when they have faced some kind of technical problems or challenges, the student groups, we have this doctoral student who has also supported the groups. But actually, if I remember correctly, they haven't had any kind of challenges so far. So all of them have been able, because it's based on open AI's GPT-4 models and the playground. So it's rather, how would I say, intuitive in terms of the use. But then we instructed the student group so that they need to have different roles, so that one of the student groups or two are actually technical leads. So we have like groups of 4 to 5 people. So one is project manager, and then the groups have 2 or 1 technical leads who are actually then responsible for the technical side or the technology side of their solution. And then the other group members are more focused on the actual content development or kind of the ideation and development of the tool.
Thank you. That sounds very promising in many ways.
Yes, yeah. Yes, it's been really interesting to see how they are progressing. And actually now we have next week also presentations, final presentations from the groups. And what I've seen from the demos, it has been really interesting. So it has been a nice experiment. So we kind of redesigned the course for this spring. So previously it was just that the student groups were solving some kind of project management related challenge in companies, but now we specifically wanted to focus on and have this AI lens because of the kind of the temporary, because it's so timely, the topic. So yeah, so it's been a learning process for all of us, also for the teachers and educators.
Taija, thank you, Kirsi. Taija, there is a question for you. Okay, BEAM Digital Technologies Awareness Education is provided to students. Now, is there any measurement metric of awareness gained by the students?
Could you repeat the last bit of that one? Measurement of...
Okay, let me just put it in the chat.
Yep.
So everybody can see.
I will say that for that one, the same measurements apply then usually to education, that how we assess their learning. Any wide range of studies or such I have not implemented, but usually that comes as part of the normal assessment process. So where you actually test that one. And of course we have the national ones, like as an example, UK has the national what do you call them, the forms that companies fill, that how aware are they about things, and we have these ones where we can actually follow it on a wider scale, on a national scale. In Finland, I don't think that we have anything such, or any metric as such, where we would be measuring annually how the development of BIM adoption is going. But in many countries, they do that. If that answers the question.
I think so. Yes, thank you, Taija. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I noticed in the chat there was a question that how do we get a copy of PM Tutor? So if
yeah. Thank you, Kirsi.
So kirsi.aaltonen@oulu.fi, because
Yes, I also responded that the recording of this webinar and all CIB webinars, so they are available in CIB's YouTube channel later on, so you can go and watch it. So it's an open YouTube channel and accessible by everyone.
And if I have time, I still had for Taija a question about, I think it was really fascinating about the use of the PIM tools and technologies. So, and related to what you Sina also commented. So have you, Taija, somehow reflected the kind of that how the students are working in groups, and how does this kind of setup, educational setup, influence the collaboration and collaborative learning processes in the groups, or have the students somehow reflected on that, or it's now in a way also related to these generic skills? And
we have not, for research purposes, we have not asked about it from the students, but what one can see in class, that for sure it changes things to better, and also you can see that in the student feedback. Which is usually for us, it's just about the course in general, but what they do mention is that it was great that we were able to collaborate on that one and all investigate the kind of the same model and look at things from that one. So research-wise, not, but there is some data about that one, yes, which could be collated.
Yes, excellent.
Any other question? Okay, it seems
I'm just going to put quickly the link to the Benedict project, which is to the chat.
Thank you.
So if you are interested in those resources which were created during that project, they can be found on that website. So there are the simulation pilot model guidelines and things if you want to repeat something similar yourself. So that website, I think it's still running for a couple of years, I think, because there's a requirement from the Erasmus Plus projects that the resources are available for some years after the project.
Thank you, Taija. Okay, I guess our time is also up. So thank you once again, everyone, for participating in this webinar, and many thanks to our keynote speakers for their informative presentations. And I wish you a nice rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.